Hello and welcome to Sabeer Bhatia, an iconic personality that we've all been knowing for years now. And thank you, Sabeer, for being on the show Coffee with Dilshad. This is one of the many series that we're planning to have. And thank you again for taking your time and, sharing your journey with us. And
You're most
welcome.
welcome. You're most welcome.
Great. So everyone knows Sabeer and, what a superstar you are, Sabeer. But nevertheless, just wanted to say a brief background about, how you started. So I think you go way back from India to the Silicon Valley. You were born in Punjab and, your father was in the army. Your mother was worked with Central Bank and I think that's how we also know each other. And you then moved on for your masters in Stanford University, founded Hotmail in '96 with Jack Smith as a co-founder, and I think within 6 months there were over 1 million users at Hotmail. And by the end of '97 there were over 8.5 million users. And I think that was the breaking point for Sabeer and Jack Smith, and that's when Microsoft acquired Hotmail. And ironically, on his 29th birthday, in December '97. So I think it's one of the biggest .com stories that we've heard of ever since. And so here we are today with you, Sabeer, and thank you once again for joining.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you. So, yeah, let's get started. So, tell me, from India to Silicon Valley, and Sabeer, how did this start? What were the most kind of influential factors or the early part of your journey?
It's first of all, I went to school at St. Joseph's Boys High School in Bangalore, and one of our seniors from St. Joseph's Boys High School, his name is Tarun Khanna. He went on to Princeton, I think, and so I remember going to his home in the seventh grade and wanting to learn from him and saying, how did you do it? And or it was in the eighth or ninth grade, or whatever, 10th grade, and 2 years before my time. And so I figured out you had to take all of these exams and pass them, and that's how you applied, and that's how you got into the U.S. And so I learned about that, and I was always very impressed with the U.S. style of teaching. My favorite subject was mathematics and physics. These were my two favorite subjects.
Okay.
And I would read physics textbooks and mathematics textbooks, both from Russia and from the United States. And the Russian way of logic was, more from first principles, whereas the American way was really simple. They simplified everything so that everything became crystal clear to you. Halliday and Resnick was one of the physics textbooks that I started reading in the 11th and 12th grade, and I loved it. And this was not part of the whole curriculum either. I just loved understanding concepts in physics. And so I always knew that subconsciously I wanted to study in a US university. I wanted to go and pursue a career in science and technology. So that's what brought me to the US. And, I wasn't able to get in right after high school, 12th grade. So I went to BITS Pilani, and I studied there for 2 years, and then I took a transfer exam to Caltech, and I passed that one, and that's what.
That's how you landed.
Yeah, that's how I got into the U.S. and I came to Caltech. I finished my undergrad at Caltech,
Okay.
and then went to Stanford to do a master's. And along the way, I have been learning a lot of things. One is, of course, my personal journey, but more importantly, how the two societies, Indian society versus US society, looks at education and what is the meaning of education. You know, and obviously I'm very impressed with what the US way of teaching is, which is true learning. You know, you
Practical
learn for
experiences.
the not more than practical. It's really you have to have the urge to learn.
Okay.
Only then you learn things.
Okay.
You don't study them. There's a difference between studying and learning. You
So
study
like a self
something as an
motivation.
outsider to study it is self motivation, enormous self motivation. All of the coursework at all the US universities now is available on Coursera, but less than zero
Yeah.
point 0.1, 0.2% of people actually finish that coursework. And the reason for that is motivation. If there's no motivation, then you're not getting a degree or something, you don't study. So it's that motivation that is the difference.
True.
And entrepreneurship is all about bridging that gap
Okay.
from theory to, okay, what problem are we solving? Whom are we solving it for? Will people, first of all, use this product? And second, will they pay for it? I mean, it's that simple. It's not rocket science. I mean, it really is. If it's technological entrepreneurship, it has to be an order of magnitude better than whatever we had before. So, case in point is Chat GPT, right? We had search before,
Right.
but
Right.
what Chat GPT did is made search irrelevant now, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when you can, first of all, the purpose of search is to answer some question that you have in your mind. If you can answer that question by just asking that question directly to ChatGPT and getting the answer, why will you first take two steps? One step to search and then the other step to find the right answer. So, those are the kind of things that lead to true entrepreneurship. And it's more fundamental. Comes from first principles, not with the concept of some business. I'll buy at X and sell at Y and do a spreadsheet. And what has to go on in your mind is not a spreadsheet. What has to go on in your mind is what
What
core
is the
problem
problem
are you
you're
solving.
solving?
Yeah, and there has to be an instinctive answer that you find to
Yeah.
solving that problem.
Absolutely.
That is original thought, and that's what is, leads to true entrepreneurship.
So
And if
was
we can,
that the defining moment for your journey of turning into an entrepreneur?
no, that's a long journey. I'll tell you how I came about becoming an entrepreneur. So my goal was to become a professor or a researcher because that's what my childhood dream was, a scientist. I finished my undergrad at Caltech, and then I came to Stanford to do a master's and a PhD. But then I took a course at Stanford called Business for Electrical Engineers, in which people who were entrepreneurs, like Scott McNeely of Sun Microsystems, Fred Gibbons of Harvard Graphics, even Steve Jobs, they came over to our class, the Stanford Business School class, and
Okay.
would teach the basics of entrepreneurship.
Interesting.
On how they started their companies, what ideas they had, and how they went ahead and solved those problems. And that inspired me. I said, if these guys can, create all these companies worth 40 million, 50 million, 100 million, I mean, in those days, those were big numbers.
Of
I'm like,
course.
surely I can do it too. And that's how I started on the journey of entrepreneurship. And I put my PhD on hold and I said, let me go and actually be an entrepreneur. And I finished my master's and then got a job at Apple Computer. And that's what started my journey on entrepreneurship.
And how did Hotmail start? What brought about that kind of light bulb moment for you?
Yeah. So uh, from Apple, I left Apple and joined a small company called Firepower Systems, which was also in the startup space. Firepower was designing some Power PC based computers. And then, the internet, the web came into existence. Um and the
In the
web
early
was
80s.
no, it was in the 90s,
Late
1994.
80s, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
1994 is when Mark Andreessen first released the Netscape browser. Um, and I knew that this browser and the internet or the web uh, would be big one day, because it was the common interface that could be used on multiple types of computers. um, I thought I could. I said I want to. I'm sure. I started playing around with it. My first idea was to create a personal web-based database on the web, so that you could store all your information on it, like your photographs, your files, your contacts, anything that you had, and retrieve it from anywhere. I thought that was pretty cool. Um, but then the company where we were working, Firepower Systems, put a firewall around the corporate intranet. That made it impossible
Okay.
for us to access our personal email accounts. I had mine at Stanford, and Jack had one at AOL. And that's when it occurred to us, what if we made email available on the web? That would solve our problem. So that was the genesis
Okay,
of
as a
Hotmail.
common. Okay. Okay. And what were the challenges in making this a reality?
So first is, many people asked us the question, you're giving away email for free, but my email is already free, because the Western mindset was you sign up for AOL or CompuServe or Microsoft Network and you already get a pipe. And along with it, you get an email account. So what is this additional free email account that we have? That, and that so I couldn't answer that. I mean, my question was, but what about people who don't own that pipe? One, and two is ubiquity. I have access to email, but I can check it from anywhere. Any
Okay.
web browser. If I travel to India, I can check it from a web browser
Yeah,
there.
it's a common platform for people to access. Okay.
Yeah. And so I started playing around, and so that was the hard thing to overcome. And of course, in those days, the giving it away for free business model wasn't proven. People asked a lot of questions. How will you make money? And I couldn't answer that question. But luckily, one of the venture capitalists liked the kind of idea, and jumped on it, and there was Tim Draper Fisher. At that time it was known as Draper Fisher, now became Draper Fisher Jurvetson. They liked the idea, they liked the boldness that we'll give away email for free, we'll capture the entire internet, we'll have millions of accounts,
Subscribers. Mm.
a subscriber base. So those subscriber kind of models were not proven then, but they took a leap of faith, and I didn't know how I was going to make money, but so that's the goal. If your goal is to make money, then oftentimes you're not able to hit the right notes,
Yeah.
because then you're treating it as a business. You don't have that passion in it. You're not doing it
Absolutely.
because you are solving a problem and you're going to change the world. You're doing it
Exactly.
because you're making money.
Exactly.
And that instinct or difference in the way of thinking differentiates a good entrepreneur from a great entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And I think you said it right when you said that if you're able to solve a problem correctly and automatically, success and great entrepreneurship follow, which is what my next question was. So, how would you define the success for you, and how has it evolved over the years, both pre and post Hotmail?
So first of all, I don't even look at success. I don't even know, like, this is an overly used term,
Absolutely.
especially in Indian diaspora. He's so successful. What? Does he have a lot of money? That's why he's successful? I mean, they confuse the two. Success to me is living the life you want to live. Whatever
And
life
doing
that
the
is.
things that you like to do.
Doing the things that you like to do. Like today, I have full control of my time. Now, if I want to go, just before I started this interview, I went for a nice 5 mile walk. I just wanted to clear my head before I, started the interview. Uh, and if I feel like it, if I'm feeling too stressed with work or whatever, if I'm sitting over here, I go for a bike ride. I like doing these things. I like the outdoors. So that defines me. You know, my job is not, I don't sit in front of a computer and I'm thinking 24 by 7. No, that's not my. So it's doing what you want to do, enjoying life, enjoying the human relationships that you create while
Absolutely.
you're over here, and making people happy. Simple. It's not rocket science. So what defines success? Yeah, I in a way I got very lucky that my our first idea, Jack's and mine, whatever, and Jack's originally, hit it so big so quickly. It's
Yeah, within
I
six
was
months, literally. Yeah.
it was like it was within 18 20 months, 20 months from start
20
to finish.
months. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that is unheard of.
Absolutely.
It's like that was my God, people in India went crazy when they heard that, right? From
Absolutely.
zero to nothing. My mom was like, "Are you sure you got this much money?" I'm like, "Yeah, what does money have to do with anything?" Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the real turning point for you. And, so how did you take that? I mean, how did you accept it? And what was that kind of game-changing moment that made this happen, made the deal happen?
Um, it was the deal happened because it was instinct. It was meant to happen, and it was a negotiation with Microsoft. But after that, I've had a whole lifetime of learning things and figuring out what is the meaning of life and what is happiness. And it certainly is not money, because after a certain amount of money, your life doesn't change. What
Absolutely.
is true happiness is, being with your kids, your loved ones, having a good time, and doing the things that you want to do,
Absolutely.
and at the same time finding purpose in life. Doing something that truly makes the world a better place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you like helping people, you're most likely you're very well suited to becoming, for example, a medical professional, healthcare professional, because you get joy every single day of treating people. It should not be seen as a
Job.
job that you have to
Absolutely.
do because that's what brings in money, bacon. I mean, I know people who are brilliant mathematicians, but they really like music, and so they have become musicians, and they teach music to kids because that's what brings them happiness and joy. I know people who worked in the corporate industry here during COVID because they had nothing else to do and stuff. They quit their jobs and they've opened these small uh, uh, birthday facilities, but they teach things to kids like cooking, you know, and so people can have birthday parties where kids learn how to cook, you
How
know.
nice. How
So
nice.
that kind of, you know, people to people interaction and satisfaction.
Participation and yeah,
It
yeah.
is we are. I mean, l- we have a short period of time we are on Earth. We are here for 80 years. We have to have a good time. And having a good time means doing the things we like doing and pursuing our true inner calling
Absolutely.
and having fun while doing it. So I think that's the other thing. Education in I have seen my kids go to school over here. I love it. Education is fun. They go to school because of the socializing, they're learning something, and the learning is not study from a textbook and repeat in an exam. That's not learning at all. It's all practical. 90% of their classes, they're building something, building a robot, working with their hands, learning how things
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so that is critical thinking. That's what moves a society forward, not this theoretical notion of, if the whole world is doing a large language model, we should also do. If you don't know anything about a large language model, it's not a function of money and people. It has to come from within. It has
Ab-
to be an original idea.
So, Sabir, we've all had our moments of weakness. We've all had failures to face. Um, how did you kind of use that failure to overcome or to move, to move to forward? Actually, we've all decided, okay, that there will be difficulties in life, or sometimes you might say, oh my god, this is the end of it, and are we really doing the right thing? Are we really moving in the right direction? Is this really what I wanted to set out to do? And there are these kind of things that we feel, are we adequate? Are we doing the right thing? But how do you, use that as a turning point to overcome that?
First of all, I don't see anything as a failure. What is failure? Failure is when some of your expectations are not met. But if you have no expectations, you don't set any expectations or goals. You just say, I'll take every day like it's a new day. I'll meet new people, and either things will happen or they won't happen. Same thing. In sales, you don't actually sell a product. You don't go and try to manipulate the other person into buying. You go and try to say, hey, here is a product. I think it will help your business. If it helps your business, use it and give us some, money for it. That's it. If that's how you look at life, where everything is an experience, nothing is a failure, and an experience that you learn from, then life is great. Then you've achieved your true potential and true happiness. So I don't see any. I mean, have I failed? I don't know. I've not failed anyone. There's nothing is a failure. Have I? I'll be more regretful if I didn't put my best foot forward.
Absolutely. Yeah.
On any given day, and on any given day, I didn't do my maximum. With full, like my full this thing, my effort was anything short of 110%. That is the day I have failed.
Yeah, I think that's what we tell our kids, right? Give it your best and leave the rest.
Yeah, but then you shouldn't set expectations. Failure occurs when you expect your kid to become, say, a doctor. My mom wanted me to become a doctor only because she used to fall ill. She had asthma. She would fall ill all the time. And she's like, one time she was an emotional decision. She was in St. John's, and she says, one day my son will be a doctor and come and, I'm like, I hate medicine. I hate biology.
Okay.
So luckily I didn't fail her. I felt, if she had set that expectation for me, I would have gone and pursued a career that I would have been less than happy with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think that's not what somebody is set out to do, because you did speak about after Hotmail, there was a time when you were kind of figuring out the meaning of life and happiness and what, so is that what kept you grounded and, what you are today? Is that what, kind of kept you humble?
Maybe it's just a way of thinking. I try to solve problems in my own head, with using my own, own way of thinking. That's why I do not, and thankfully today, previously there used to be two viewpoints in everything, the right and the left, globally, in the whole world, Wall Street Journal or New York Times. Today, thanks to social media, everybody has their own point of view.
Absolutely.
Nobody trusts the press anymore, right? On both sides, because it's your views versus my views. Now, in this global world of at least of intellectual freedom that all our kids have, and we have too, social media, everybody has to come up with what their philosophy is. And today, I'm loving it. Whatever I think about, I put on social media, on Twitter, and every tweet of mine is hitting national headlines in India. And because every issue has its own nuances, and every one of us has to think critically. And what I'm even positing is that for kids in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, for their survival and their well-being, What they have to learn most is the ability to think critically. They don't have to think in a particular way because bookish knowledge is already irrelevant. And
Yeah.
if it has been done before, a computer or an AI software will do it better than, or a robot will do it better than humans can. So what does that leave us? It leaves us with the ability to make decisions. It leaves us,
Individuality.
yes,
Yeah.
individuality, independent thinking, critical thinking. Those are an imagination. Those are the values and the skills we have to teach the next generation. And I'm a living example of it. You cannot put me in a box of, am I a sportsman? Am I a BJP guy? Am I a software guy? Am I an IT professional? No, I'm all of the above. I love everything. I love bicycling. Yesterday I played golf with David Warner, one of the cricketing guys.
Okay.
Uh, and so I was great. I mean, he's of course a super athlete, but I was holding my own, with him, and I enjoyed playing. And this is what life is: set of experiences.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
have to aim towards maximizing our experiences.
So, what do you think needs to be done for us to kind of, move to the next level?
We have to change. We have to, first of all, mass educate everyone
Yeah.
and quickly.
Yeah.
China is where it is because they're all educated. One thing that communism did is give education to all. Two, everybody should be working towards getting more and more jobs into the economy. Not, we're doing well, let's go home, let's talk about it in the news and go to sleep. No, we've got to create hundreds of millions of jobs.
Opportunities. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that we can do by opening the economy, by making it easier for foreign investment, for making it easier, for changing the laws. I mean, everything it goes hand in hand, but it can be done.
I mean, when it comes to the investors, I know that the domestic institutional investor contribution has gone up much more. Of course, we still rely on FII monies to a large extent, but I think we were able to come out of the COVID situation, the war, etc. We were not impacted as much because we are more or less self-sufficient. Of course, we are not a kind of I mean, our exports are a minuscule to the US, so we were able to manage. We were not affected negatively when it came to the war situation and the interest rates and the QE that the US did. So I think India has definitely been able to be a standalone that way. Yes, we need to progress. We need to be opening our doors. We need to accept and reduce red tapeism and corruption for sure. But
But
we
that's not
have,
the problem. I will still argue we are still operating like a zero-sum game economy, so-called self-sufficiency. I mean, in this day and age, it's not about self-sufficiency. It's about turning we are still an asset-based economy. If we change it into an IP-based economy, where every individual is allowed to reach their full potential and is allowed to use their mind to create value and wealth, that's when we'll become a top exporter.
anything that you have to say for the Gen Z, because I think we're seeing a lot of young entrepreneurs and a lot of people who think that they can make it big by just doing, taking shortcuts or doing things without really following the process, or whether really, actually ensuring that they put in that kind of, mindset and effort. So, what do you have to say to such people?
Yeah, no, so Gen Zs, listen, they are the future. I think it's effort that they put in into thinking of new ideas, generally pursuing their passions, is what will lead to massive change. Not trying to pretend to be something they're not. Like a lot of kids want to be entrepreneurs. You don't just want to be an entrepreneur. There has to be some sort of an inner calling, and it has to be
Exactly.
backed with some idea that you have,
Yeah,
some
and you
way of
need to
doing
work for
things that
it.
are better.
So, yeah. So, what I'm seeing is that people think that they can make it big, fast. There are quick fixes, but sometimes there is no shortcuts. There is no, there aren't no kind of quick fixes to achieve certain things, right? You have to follow the process and you have to go through it. And being an entrepreneur means sometimes you might even have to clean the floor and lock the door at the end of the day, which sometimes our new age Gen Z is not willing to do as entrepreneurs. I
Forget
mean, I did it
sometimes,
when I
all the
started
time.
the, yeah, yeah,
There is you learn so much by doing things on your own. I do my own laundry, I do my own cooking, I do my own cleaning, everything.
yeah,
Because that keeps
absolutely.
me young and happy that I'm doing something, with my hands and stuff. And that doesn't stop the process of thinking. My mind doesn't stop. In doing things, you come up with ideas. You don't come with ideas sitting in a room and dreaming up of an idea. No, you actually come up with ideas when you actually go and do something with your own hands. Or you ride a bicycle, you do something. We had a real problem. We were putting a company together, and the corporate intranet, there was a firewall put around the corporate intranet, which gave us the idea, hey, what if we could tunnel the same data through to a web browser? That was the genesis of Hotmail. So it has to be very problem specific. And that only comes from doing. That doesn't come from going to university, schools, sitting in an ivory tower. No, 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 no. Talking
Absolutely.
big. 99% of our politicians have never done anything in their lives, and yet they're trying to run an economy of 1.5 billion people. So they are only running it like what the structure the British left us with. They haven't made any fundamental changes. That is why you can talk all big. Yeah, we were better than what we were yesterday, but that's not good enough. The world is moving at 10 times the pace. We are still in that slow growth because we don't know how to embrace change and how to think differently.
So, since I'm in the financial services industry, there will definitely be a question on, money and personal finance and wealth. And how do you perceive money? And really want to know, did the perception change before and after the Hotmail thing? Or because, I mean, we all have come from roots which are, quite, humble, and it's not like we were given the silver spoon as such. So, how did that perception change, and what is your perception today about money and wealth?
No, it's still the same. That it's a means to an end, and the best way to have money is to earn it, not to inherit it, not to try to take shortcuts. It's
Absolutely.
do it on your own, and that's the best way. And once I don't manage my money anymore, I just give it to professionals who like managing money, who study it as a business, as a science. Let them do
Yes.
it. Not my not my cup of tea anymore. My goal is to think of new ideas and to solve the world's problems,
Right.
and I'm happy doing that. And so that's how we should have that should be our relationship with money, that give it to professionals like yourselves. You
Absolutely.
should be managing other people's money, not themselves, because then it gets mixed, then you get emotions into it. You will make
Yeah.
unemotional decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
My decisions will be emotional, biased, or whatever. and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the
I mean,
best
it's like saying, you have a coach. I mean, I have a personal coach. I have a business coach. I have a coach. I mean, a gym trainer coach. Similarly, our clients believe that they need a personal finance coach, or a financial advisor to basically guide them. It's basically a sounding board sometimes, right? You might want to do this or that, and you want to know, you want a third person's view, or you want a second opinion on what you're trying to do to, So I think, like you rightly said, having someone professional to kind of manage things for you is the right way about, everything and anything in life.
Yeah,
Because if somebody is good at something, you just
that's
kind
it.
of leave it to that, right?
That's it. That's it. That's it.
Great. Okay. Anything else that you just like to kind of give as a passing or an end comment for all of us?
No, I wish all the viewers fantastic luck with this, and I hope they can change their mindsets. Even if I'm able to change one person's mindset, I'll be happy. That somebody's thinking positively, somebody's solving for happiness, not solving for wealth. I mean, even in our
Absolutely.
entire, you know, pleasantries that we exchange with each other, happy Diwali, may this be prosperous. Why prosperous? May it be happiest Diwali of your life, right? We should solve
May
for
it be an
happiness.
innovative Diwali for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. Thank you so
All right.
much, Sabir.
You're
This
very
was
welcome.
really nice. Thanks so much for your time. Thank you.
Yeah. Take